Good evening and welcome back. This is Nuke Marine for Lesson 3 of Learning Hiragana. So, let's bring up the start. Now, let me just show you. Right now, we filled in 1/3 of all these kana, here, the hiragana. And we're 1/6 of the way through, maybe actually more than, yeah, 1/6 of the way through of hiragana and katakana. So each lesson I give you, you give me a half hour, I'm going to give you more and more of these kana. So let's start off. Now, the first character shouldn't come as any surprise, but let me write it out for you, just because we're covering with the dealing with Anki. But ha, now that's ha as in shop or harlot. Ha. Keyword we're going to think of though is going to be hopscotch. Now, before we start up with hopscotch, we got to teach you a little thing. Now, we already know one thing. We already know this is the cape, Little Red Riding Cape, and we've seen this also. So this is the dagger. Now, and because we've seen this with K. What we're going to now introduce and practice this real quick is what we call the boomerang. So you're going to come down and see the loop, and it's going to match. It's going to actually come down, and then the curve comes straight down, do a loop, curve down. So it's almost like he's doing a boomerang pattern. A very bad boomerang, but it's okay. So boomerang. Reason why we're saying boomerang is on these is all these kana, same thing with the cape or the dagger, is instead of using different images, if you just use a similar image, you're limiting yourself on how many stories or how many images you have to create. You just change the story, but the items in the stories stay the same, and that can all you're limited how many items you have to populate. Instead of this being, in other words, you don't want this to be a T in addition to being a cross, in addition to being a dagger, in addition to being a sword. Just keep it as a dagger. Keep this as a cape. Keep this as a boomerang, and you're saving yourself time on how to make up stories. And that helps your imagination. It helps at least in memory, based on the visual imagination, to work better. So in this case, we'll go to hopscotch. Now, in hopscotch, just imagine we've got the Little Red Riding Cape, okay? And she wants to play hopscotch. So she takes a little dagger out, and with the dagger, she is drawing the lines for the play hopscotch. And instead of using little stones, what you're going to do is she's going to toss boomerangs to each of the numbers in which to then say, hey, that's where I got to jump. So there you go. Cape, dagger, boomerang. And the stroke of the dagger and the stroke of the boomerang are the same stroke. So here's the stroke order again. Cape, cape. All right, 3 strokes. Ha, hopscotch. Here are some words that utilize it. Hanko and hara and haiku. Hanko, hara, haiku. Of course, if you look here, it is the H line. So we have he becomes be. So if we have ha here, if we voice that, it becomes ha becomes ba. So going back up here, instead of hanko, let's go and put some voice marks here. Hanko becomes banko. Hara becomes bara. Haiku becomes baiku. Simple as that. And it helps if I actually put the so hanko, haiku, bara. Bara is rose out of interest. So let me pause that and start on to the next character. Now, before we go on to the next character, let me just make something to point out. Now, this is ha, this is he. If I voice this, it becomes pa, ba, and be. In kana, down here, if you see, I actually had a little line drawn out. There is this right here called a plosive. It's a little circle here and after the character. What that does is it changes all the things in the h line. And so it's a ha, he, or ba, be. If I add a little circle, this becomes pe, as in pele or pepe. This becomes, instead of ha, it becomes pa, as in papa. Paul, pa. It only happens on the H line. And so the h or the h and the he or the hu, the ho becomes pa pi pu pe po, ha ba bi bu be bo, pa pi pu pe po. Sounds like baby talk, but it shouldn't be hard to pick up. So ha, ba, pa. All right, and we'll carry on from there. So there's our first character, and apologies, this is going to be a little longer lesson because of all the extras I had to throw in. But our next character is, well, it's going to be this. You'll probably like it. Ho. Now it's ho as in the garden hoe. Hori, ho ho ho, the Santa Claus yell. It's gonna be, the key word will be, when you think of hoe, think of the garden hoe. Garden hoe. And in this case, we're going to go back to the hopscotch court. In this case, what you're going to have is Little Red Riding Cape. So you have the Little Red Riding Cape, and in this case, she's playing with her daggers and her boomerangs, but she's also carrying a hoe. And the reason why she has a hoe is that she's going to put this line, this extra line, to say, hey, we're going to start at this line, not before, not after this line, but before this line. And we're going to start at that line with the hoe, and instead of using this dagger, then she's going to use the dagger to draw the lines. Actually, that connects. So let me draw this out again for you. So there's the cape, Little Red Riding Cape. Next one is going to be the first line, the line she draws with the hoe. There's the second line. Then finally, there's the boomerang. It also finishes the dagger. So hoe. And in this case for hoe, just imagine, picture in your head that what she's doing is she's lining off around the hopscotch court with her hoe. Maybe to say, hey, no one else bothers me, I'm playing my game, if you want to. So cape, the extra line from the hoe, and then of course, then the hopscotch, the dagger and the boomerangs, which she's playing the game with. Hoe. With hoe, let's get some words that can be used this character. Hori, hori. Hone. Hone is book, just if you care. Aho, aho. Now, this is ho, and it's on the line, so instead of, so it's like ha becomes ba or pa, and he becomes be or pe. Ho becomes, it shouldn't be too difficult to figure out. That's, or, sorry, I'll do the voice mark first. That's bo, as in little bo peep. Po, as in the Pope or dirt po, but Pope. So bo or Pope, po. So if we looked here, if we voiced it, it becomes Bodhi. And if we add this plosive, the circle, Podi. So pone, or if we got rid of that and put the voice marks, bone, bonodori. And aho, apo, abo. Same thing if you voiced it. Now let's say if you had the little glottal stops. Aho, aho, apo, apo. So don't forget about the glottal stops in there. So let's pause it and we'll move on to the next character. Alright, so there's two characters we've covered so far. Ha and ho. And also the voice and plosive is on there. Now, the pronunciation for the next character is actually sounds kind of what you see in English. Ma. That's ma as in mama, motley crew, ma, motley. The key word, though, just like the pronunciation, will be mama. Okay, now this may take a little stretch. If you've ever seen the way I like to think about it is if you ever seen the movie Road Warrior. Now in there is this nice little feral kid who's probably trying to protect his mama, even though it's an orphan and whatnot. But what he's done is he's taken this. Imagine he's taken this big sword. Now there's a big sword, so 2 strokes down there. We remember that from Key. And what he's done, he's bent this big sword into a boomerang. and then he tosses boomerang around, it goes and flies around, cuts off people's fingers, all sorts of nasty stuff. But that's how I kind of remember this story. It was just this big sword that's bent into a boomerang, and nothing's as deadlier than a razor sharp boomerang. So here's the stroke order. All right, so 3 strokes, ma. Key words that use ma. Koma. Matsu. Manin. And if you want to try some practice here, let's try. So, goma, mazu, like maza. Maza, but mazu. Goma. Just practicing on the voice marks. And again, like all these others, is what you should be doing is pausing the video, writing down the character a bit, writing down these words two or three times, just get some practice in, going on. And then, of course, you'll be getting your same review when you review into Anki. So our next, let's start. All right, and there's our 3 characters we've learned thus far. Let's move on to the next one. This one should be fun. The word we're going to be learning, and there'll be a little extra after this because of the uniqueness of this character. Yo. That's yo as in yo-yo, mayonnaise, yo. In fact, to help this out, the keyword though will be yolk. Now this is going to take a little bit of your imaginative memory is going to be kind of stretched to the limit on this one. It's actually not too difficult. Take for a second. Imagine you have these kind of cruel children. And what they've done is they've taken a little puppy tail. So draw the puppy tail. And they've taken this puppy tail, with the puppy attached, of course, and tied it to this little boomerang. And what these kids are doing is they're taking this boomerang now, tossing it up in the air, tossing it to their friends. And then while the boomerang with the puppy attached is in the air, they're trying to toss all these yolks, hence the story of the yolk, tossing all these yolks at it, seeing how many can hit it before it lands. Kind of a cruel story, but fun in my opinion. So here's the stroke order, just 2 strokes. Draw the puppy tail, and draw the puppy tail and the little boomerang thing. And we are done with yo. And what we'll do, shrink down here, some words that start with yo. Sorry, let me erase that. Yoke. Yoko. Yon. Yoke, yoko, yon. And pause it real quick. So now we're on our 4th character, ha, ho, ma, yo. Now, yo is something interesting. It's sort of like with the how the su becomes the glottal stop. Yo does something a little interesting. Here's what happens. Well, let's start off. Imagine if we had the E line, and if we had like kaki akasata nahamaya, so kaki kukeko, so ki iki shichi nihi miyi. This is easier to see if you look down here. See right here in this E line. So we have I, ki, gi, chi, ji, ni, and ri. Currently, those are the kana that I've taught you so far. Here's what happens with yo. Let's imagine you're doing this line. So right now, let's say we have ki, gi, ni, and probably something else. I don't know, chi and ji. So what happens if you take yo? Here's it written in normal. What it can be done, what you'll see use kana is it's going to be written smaller like this. Now, when it's written smaller, the smaller version, and it's not with this, is the only one that's not mixed with it. But let's say ki and this smaller. Instead of being ki yo, it's blended together. It becomes a kyo. It's all one syllable. So instead of being 2 syllables, so this would be gyo, and this would be nyo. in yo, like and there's not too many. And in my opinion, there's not too many English equivalents here, but chi becomes cho, so the chosen one, chosen reservoir. In which case, you also have the G, so this would be Jo, as in yo, Joe, Joe. So it's pronounced fast, one syllable, it's not two. So don't try and think of it like Kyo. Blend it together. Kyo, Kyo, Gyo, Nyo, CH or CHO. So you'll see this as CHO. And Joe is just be JO, if that were voiced. That's Joe. There's a couple others that use this, but it's everything in the E line. And we haven't taught everything. So when those come up, I'll try to also remind you, hey, these are some other symbols that can be pronounced. It's hard. It's a lot harder to do some practice on that, but we will work on this. All right, so we're up to our fourth character, and we've learned some additional ones with the plosives, and also had yo. I forgot the actual term for it. But let's go on to the next character. This one kind of actually a complicated character, but with the stories and the visualization, it shouldn't be too difficult. Na, na. That's na as in not, tie a knot, knock, knocking. Na. The key word we're going to use, we'll actually put door right here, but door knocker. A door knocker. Na, door knocker. This is kind of an unusual story, but bear with me. So imagine you've got this big door. You got a nice big door, right? And on here, instead of the regular door, what you have is a big dagger being used as the door knocker. And the dagger is attached with a little puppy tail. And I'm sorry, I'm actually drawing the story here. But every time, if you use this knocker, I guess what they hate door-to-door salesmen, is out this little slot, boomerangs will shoot out at you, and even if you duck, they'll be coming back at you. So let's recreate the story as it should be written in as a kana. So here we have is a dagger that we have attached to the door. Then we see is a little puppy tail. The little puppy tail that is attaching the dagger to the door. And then finally is the boomerangs that shoot out when, because whenever you use a knocker, they don't like company, so they always shoot the boomerangs out at you. So it's 4 strokes here. So let's do the stroke orders. And you kind of notice with the na, it's nice little curve to it. A nice little curve to that second stroke, so it's not straight down, it's kind of a nice curve. Let's go with some words that can utilize this kana that we know up to this point. So na, na. Natsu. Hanako. Anna. And just get some practice. Nadzu. Panago. And obviously banago, if I put that as a banago. So this is na. Let's go on to the next character, if we will. So now we have 5 characters up so far. Let's get on to the next one. And this one's not too difficult. I kind of like the story personally. So when you see it, it'll be like, that's O, as in over, you owe me, foe. The key word, it was what he was saying is like, oh, Nick. Well, I'm just going to say, oh, devil. Old devil. Dirty old devil. Oh, God, oh, devil. Or it was, oh, God, you devil, but we'll say, oh, God, oh, devil. So this is the devil of Kana Land. Different than the devil we think of when we normally. So here's the Kana Land devil. Instead of a pitchfork, what the Kana Land devil has is a dagger. Big dagger. And instead of having a tail, he has tsu. So imagine drawing the tsu and then finish off tails. So it's dagger, tsu, tails. Now, normally this is what's the actual stroke where you finish this. This stroke is actually all one stroke. So it's the finishing of the dagger and also doing a kind of a modified s. And then we end up with the little tail going down. O. So that's O as in over or foe. So let's go down a bit. What do we have here? Some words that use this. Well, we have Oni, Onna, Oike. So Oni, Onna, Oike. Let's see. Yeah, sure, just for fun. And if we want to voice this, Oige. Oni, Oige. And if we want to do the nice little voice, I'm sorry, make sure I got that right. Glottal stop. Oni, Onna, Oige. Oige. Alright, so with these characters, six, let's see, 1, 2, 6 in all that I've taught you on this one, in addition to a few of the voiced implosives, that comes to the end of this lesson. Turned out not to be as long as I thought it would be, about 35 minutes, so that's good. If you've looked, you're halfway done. If you filled in most of these a, I, U, E, O, you've got a lot of the k, the ki, ku, ke, ko, sa. We'll be filling in pretty much. By the time we are done, we are finished. So, let's remember that little song I was saying about Frère Jacques, which is Frère Jacques, dormez-vous? And I ask you to think of the first one, which is Akasata. And I say it again, Akasata. Everything with the dot by it is what we're talking about. So let's go with the next set, which is, instead of ta, Naha. And actually, let me go right here, Naha ma and ya. Okay, so Akasata Naha Maya. And then we'll be finishing up on the next lesson. And again, with this sound, Akasata Naha Maya. So if you think of A line, this is A, I, U, E, O. You don't know what A is. So with Ka, Kakiku ke ko. And you know Ka gets voice, so we'll say Kakiku ke ko, but don't worry about that yet. We know Sa, so Sa, Shi, Su, Se, So. And we'll be learning those a little later. Ta, Tachi, Zu, Te, To. Na, Nani, Nu, Ne, No. Ha, Hahi, Hu, He, Ho. So right now you don't know everything, so don't worry too much about it. But eventually what you should do with that little song is be able to fill in this entire graph on your own, just as a practice thing. In addition to knowing how to do the voice marks, and when you found it down here, when we add the yo, so we have ki, gi, so kyo, gyo, cho, this is ji, so it's jo, ni, nyo, and ri, so ri becomes ryo. Everything in this E line. Then currently, all we know right now is yo. There's a couple others we'll be learning later. Follow the same patterns. All right. See you on lesson 4. Thank you very much for. So right now, halfway done, and another hour and a half, we'll be fully done with hiragana. Thank you.